sense. What is employer branding? What are the problems that are besetting industries? Is employer branding an answer? Is employer branding something new that we're talking of, or is it something that has been existing for long? Are we just repackaging whatever we have done in HR in the past and putting it across as something new? Can I ask Dr. Subramaniam to start the discussion? Dr. Subramaniam, what do you think about employer branding as one of the new initiatives?
There's nothing new about it. It's been existing for quite some time ago. We have moved away from employer branding to employee branding. And now we have moved away from employee branding to prospective branding. The third stage is coming out where you now don't brand neither the employer nor the employee, but you brand the jobs. So we have gone into a stage where you neither brand employer nor the employee, because employer is not capable of employing the employee and employee is not ready to serve the employer. So instead of branding both of them, we are now going into a third dimension where we are saying that let's do job branding, and we moved away to job branding away from employers and employees.
But all these branding initiatives that we have started, or even let's talk of what Dr. Subramaniam has talked about, the three types of branding: employer, employee, and a job perspective. Is it going to address any of the issues that are facing industries today? Yes.
Just to second that thought, and coming from different industry in the IT sector, we have noticed with employer branding plays a very important role, because it helps enable the younger generation who we cater to focus to a certain level of growth, focus to a certain level of pride factor which would come in by being a part of a well-branded organization rather than an organization who does not invest within its employees. So that's where it plays a very key role. It's not a new thing which is there, it's just something which is inculcated again, but we're just repackaging it, like Dr. Subramaniam said. At the same time, we are addressing it in a new light. What we are focusing at mainly is upon how do we address to a generation who's new, who's not aware about what happens in an industry. Being the early industries were very orthodox, very different. Once you join an industry, you know that you're there in the industry for the next how many years?
Dr. Coelho was not going to agree with you there.
But then again, that is something which has become very dynamic in our part of the industry, the IT and ITES sector. So what happens is, with so much competition coming in, and also being a little attractive to the younger generation who's more energetic, there's a lot of youth who want to do something in the industry, and then you create a platform, and that all comes through employer branding within the organization.
Philip, then are we talking about employer branding as appealing to only one segment of the prospective employees that are there, according to what Ankush said?
I don't know. Lalita, you had said to me that I was going to be representing the manufacturing sector in this discussion. So I'm going to express views, number one, which are my own, number two, which I believe are largely true for the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector doesn't know what the hell employer branding is. And frankly, it makes no difference. Means one of your questions, Lalita, was employer branding, will it make a difference to the economy? No. And if you think different, I want to hear from you. Not you. You.
You, all of you.
Will employee branding make any difference to the economy? No. It might make a difference to the employee. Like some particular employee gets known and branded, like this is the ace employee. So the whole world, not India, the whole world is running after that employee. And Dr. Subramaniam's new concept, which let me confess, I heard about it today for the first time. There's a mighty lot of stuff which I know nothing about. Job branding, did you say job branding?
Perspective branding. Perspective branding.
What perspective? Whose perspective?
We are very famous Coelho sir. He's been my teacher.
That's why he's creating
So we are very famous to invite jargons. So what has happened is the evolution of industry and the growth of it has allowed various HR managers to find out opportunities to see how they can survive themselves in the field. Now, one of the things which they have done is created new issues for managing, and where the attrition rates are going through the roof, and they have lost the connection to manage attritions logically. They have gone through various jargons. One of them is perspective branding. Now, what has happened is nothing else but the old wine in the new bottle. When you do get into a job, do a proper JD about it, do a proper man specification about it, get into a proper structural evaluation of it, do a proper job banding of it, create a proper composition structure of it, do a proper responsibility structure of it, and find out the man suiting it and report it to the system. So what they now do is they started a concept called as branding it. Branding the job, like Infosys has started it in a big way because it's in the enabled sector of IT. They find this makes a big difference to get in some talents. IT sector is doing it to some extent. We call it job branding.
This is not even old wine in a new bottle. It is plain water in a new bottle. The old industrial relations manager, the old concept of the industrial relations manager was always accused that first the guy creates a problem and then he solves the problem. Now Dr. Subramaniam is saying the same thing. He's going to create an issue and then he's going to solve the issue by saying we are going to brand this job.
Okay, with old wine and new bottle, and taking that concept ahead, even though he says that there's water in it, I would say old wine and new bottle is much more tastier than a fresh wine in an old bottle. Putting that concept forward, what we actually are doing in the branding, when we say employer branding, employee branding, there was a campaign which we ran recently, say about a few months ago, few quarters ago, and that focused on career development within our industry. What happens with that is you want to attract a talent pool. Now, when you are branding, we had two options. Either we use external models, external faces who are not related to the industry and get a celebrity in, and then we focus that and put that across and then get the young crowd in. The other option that is there is, why don't we promote our own employees? We have a young generation, we have something which is there, they are young, they can relate to the world. The people who are going to address these kind of issues are going to relate back again to us by saying like, oh, this girl is so young and she's so successful, or this guy is so young and so successful. So then again, the branding of the employee on an external front as well as an internal front plays a very important role, because for us it's recruitment because of the high attrition. The other aspect that we're looking out again is retention. So you need to highlight the stars, so it plays a very important role again. Even if I just compare it to a slight extent to the manufacturing industry, okay, there would always be a system where you would, if there are a lot of workers, and I'm talking about at a very lower level, and if he's getting an incentive program where he's getting something, he's always there, and that goes up and says that, okay, he's been a good performer or he's been doing this. Taking the concept of the IR, we have another concept which is there in the new industry and rebranded and repackaged, is employee relations. Okay, but IR was more or less dealing with unions and the workers on a very heavy platform, because that was the core area of addressal at that point of time. But today's core area of addressal would straight away come into an aspect of handling the mental aspect of the young generation, which I totally am speaking from my perspective of the industry, and handling the mental aspect of the people. So how do you engage these guys and keep them motivated to work and be there and think about building a career, because the target area that we're looking at, the target audience that we're looking at, are just barely graduates, and who dropped into the industry and said we want to earn money and we want to do something. So